Thank you for watching my video. This video would discuss 3 categories: temperament, feeding, and size for your first time snake, or maybe you're looking to add an addition to your collection. I will also list 2 snakes that I don't recommend for beginners. This is only for snakes that I've kept currently or in the past. So for the first one, I recommend the corn snake in terms of temperament. This is a reverse Okatee. She's about 1.5 years, 2 years old now. And great temperament. I can pick her up. I can hold her. Corn snakes generally just have a very docile temperament. Even as hatchlings, they're very unlikely to bite. While they can be skittish at first, just as all hatchlings do. With a little bit of handling, they usually calm down very quickly, and they're very easy to work with. This is my second choice for temperament. This is a Dumerose boa. His name is Scruffy. He's hidden here, as they do. Dumerose boa have a great temperament. They're known to be not to bite. They're not known to hiss or even nip out of fear, compared to other boa constrictors, especially the babies. Even for baby Dumer boas, they are very unlikely to lash out. They would rather run than to fight back. So if you are looking for a boa that's calm from the start and you're scared if you get nipped, Dumerose boa is a good choice, and they don't get too big. So for the feeding category, I recommend the Woma python and the majority of colubrids as well. They eat very well. The Woma python has a reputation of eating too well and can be known to be food aggressive. My Woma python actually is the exception rather than the rule. He rarely ever mistakes me for food. But don't be surprised if your Woma python does accidentally think your hand is food. A little bit of handling and just a little bit of training. If you're afraid, you can also use hook training to let them know that you're not food. Generally, they're very easy to handle, and feeding is never a problem. So you shouldn't have a Woma python that refuses food. If anything, they want more rather than less. The second snake I recommend that have a good feeding response is the king snake. Most king snakes of any species are great eaters, including a California king snake, which I no longer have. This is a gray banded king snake. He eats very well, as most king snakes are. However, at the beginning, a gray banded king snake as babies may not eat frozen thawed prey, and they may not take rodent prey at the start. They are frog and lizard eaters in the wild, so it may take some time to switch them over to rodent prey, but once they're well started, they eat very well and have no problems. And this applies to most king snakes as well. Since I'm already on king snake, for the third category, size. Gray banded king snake actually don't grow too big. 2 feet, 2.5 max. They don't get very big. They usually fall under 36 inches long. Very unusual to have something that's over 36 inches. Female gray banded king snake. Usually they fall under, especially for males. So if you're looking for something small, something calm, something that eats well, the gray banded king snake fits the bill. Another snake that is small in stature is the rosy boa. She's right in there. That's Pretzel, my rosy boa. She is still very young. She's not full grown yet. They don't grow to be too big. Definitely not going to be big longer than 36 inches for a female. Female are definitely larger than males. It's very unusual to find females that exceed 36 inches long. So for a boa, if you don't want a python, you don't want a colubrid, and you're looking for a small boa, rosy boas are a good choice. Another option is the canyon sand boa. However, as discussed in my other videos, canyon sand boas tend to be absent for the majority of the day. You probably won't see it, just like you won't see her in here. She's in there. I swear, I promise. She's alive. She's in there somewhere. But this is what they generally do. They just stay hidden most of the day. For size, they're about the same as a rosy boa. So you shouldn't have a snake that is too long or too big. A 20-gallon long, no bigger than a 40-gallon breeder as an adult. Female should be fine for both. Or if you have a smaller female, even a 20-gallon long should be fine, depending on what you get. And lastly, two snakes I do not recommend for beginners are the children python, which is Bender right here. He is almost 3 years old, I think, 3 or 4 years old. And he's currently in a 20-gallon long, which will not be permanent because his animal plastics cage has been ordered. They have a 6-month, 7-month wait time. So his cage would definitely be upgraded to something to over 4 foot long and then a little bit more height for his climbing. So for children python, great eaters. They definitely meet the feeding requirement, but they are not all docile. They have a reputation to be nippy as babies and may even stay nippy as adults. And for mine, I definitely worked with him since he was a hatchling. I think it really goes by personality as well as socializations. Some you can work with a lot and you would still end up with a snake that's a little more defensive, or you can work with one very little and they just have a really good temperament. So similar to my Woma python with a reputation to be food aggressive, which he is food aggressive but not in a bad way. Some children python have a reputation, even as adults, to defensively bite. If you touch their stuff in their cage, they'll come after you. If you hold them, for 1 minute they'll be fine, the next minute they give no warning and decides to strike at anything that moves. That is a very common complaint, and it is true. They give very little warning when they do strike. It's not for somebody who doesn't know how to read snake behavior. This is not recommended for children, even though the name implies children python, but it is not named for children. So my recommendation is, if you do want a children python, is to handle the adults. That before your purchase, to check its temperament from the beginning. If you have a calm adult in your hands at this pet store or the expo, more than likely you'll come home with one. But if you don't, you may need to work with it and just accept the fact that it may not ever calm down. Or if you just want a snake as a display animal, that's fine too. You don't always have to handle them. And they can stay in their cage happily without being handled. And I don't recommend them, again, for starter, as a starter snake, unless you have some level of experience in working with aggressive, defensive snakes and food aggressive snakes. And lastly, the second snake I do not recommend for starters are not the corn snake. This is my other corn snake. He's coming out to see if I'm giving him food. This is my other corn snake. Corn dog. So the last one I don't recommend is the ball python. I no longer keep ball pythons for a reason. And one of them is because they can be very frustrating to keep for a new keeper. They can be very stressful when they don't eat, and it is very, very common and almost guaranteed that you will have a ball python who would eventually not eat for you, either as a hatchling or as an adult. It's just part of their nature. They may not eat due to stress, they may not eat due to temperature issues, or they may not eat because of breeding season. You never really know. It can be very frustrating if you're the type of person who likes to feed their snakes. So I don't recommend ball pythons unless you have some experience working with animals that refuse to eat, so that way you know the tricks and what to look for to fix that problem. And for those who have anxiety, who gets worried a lot over everything, I don't recommend them at the beginning, because you will get stressed. You will be very nervous and frustrated with your snake, and that would kind of ruin your first time owning a pet snake. Here's my other Kenyan sand boa. See, another Kenyan sand boa hiding. Typical. He's in here somewhere. And that concludes my video. I hope this video has been useful for you.